It's been an exciting homestand. The Mets took 2 of 3 from both the Dodgers and the White Sox, even though their offense looked a bit sluggish at times. Keith, obviously the Mets are happy with 4 wins in this stretch, but overall, how would you rate the team's overall performance?
Yeah, I think probably about a B plus on this one. I think, the game on Friday that went to 13 innings would have been nice to win. I think Mets had about 450 chances to win that game and didn't. So you're looking at a potential sweep of the Dodgers at home. So you get a little bit of a nod from that. And of course, the loss of the White Sox, I think, because it was the last game of the series, it left everybody with a weird taste in their mouth, but they still won 2 out of 3. You're not going to win every single game the whole year. So 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers and the White Sox, B plus.
Okay, B plus for you. Laura, do you have any key takeaways from these 2 series?
I mean, like Keith said, it was a good 2 series, but I am slightly concerned with what I saw in 2 areas, specifically the starting pitching, and again, they're hitting with runners in scoring position. When you look at Griffin Canning, and sometimes you're also looking at Tyler McGill, you're seeing these starters, they're not giving you a lot of length, and also they're walking a lot more people than they were before. So the length was already an issue prior to this, and the bullpen has been really super taxed. And the runners in scoring position, 2 for 12 yesterday, and I believe they have the 4th worst situational hitting in baseball right now. So that's going to be something. I mean, the Mets have been good enough, and certainly that Dodgers series was really heartening, but I always look toward the end of the series, the stretch run, and whether these issues are going to kind of rear their heads again.
Yeah, let's talk about the risk just a little bit more because they've been struggling in that area for some time now. But after yesterday's game, Mark Vientos said, if this is us struggling and we're winning games, imagine when we're not. I don't think the whole season is going to be like this. And we know that there are the ebbs and flows of a season. But yes, this is just a bit concerning, even though they are 12 games above 500. So, Keith, what's your reaction to Mark Vientos' post-game comments?
Yeah, he's right. It is interesting. Look at like a team like the White Sox was just here, so we saw them for 3 days. Their team batting average is terrible. Their average with runners in scoring position is terrible, but they're a bad hitting team, so of course they're going to be bad in those moments. But the Mets are not a bad hitting team. They just turn into a bad hitting team with men on base. It doesn't make any sense, which is why I think no one's getting a good answer from David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza outside of they're going to pick it up, because truly it doesn't make any sense why they're not hitting with men in scoring position. It's a situational thing. It's a little bit maybe of a tighter situation for a hitter, even though these guys are polished. They have done it before in tight situations. We saw it in the postseason last year. So it's a concern in a sense that it's been the story of the season, but the fact that they're 34-22 at this point, Mark is right. I mean, they're still at their baseline a good team with a lot more to unlock. But if you go even further into this, we're talking maybe toward trade deadline time, and they're still not hitting with men in scoring position, then it would be a major, major problem. Right now, I think it's still kind of puzzling for everybody as to why.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow that up quickly, Laura, is the team's current performance sustainable if the struggles with runners in scoring position continue?
I mean, it's going to be really hard. You do need to get hits with runners in scoring position. And I think the biggest concern, when David Stearns talks about their issues with runners in scoring position, he says, well, I don't necessarily look at batting average. I look at the equality of the at-bats. And in certain situations, the quality of the at-bats have been pretty good. It feels like Juan Soto is possibly the unluckiest player in baseball right now, because he has been hitting the ball fairly well. When he does make contact, he's hitting it hard, but he's not having things drop in. So when you have a quality of a bat like that, or you're like, okay, so law of averages, eventually some of these are going to actually fall in. But then you look at some of the at-bats like that they had yesterday, where they're a little bit non-competitive. Maybe they're pressing a little bit at the plate. And that's the thing with baseball. It can be really psychological. So when you talk about clutch hitting, you're like, okay, so how much of it is them kind of making the situation or the moment too big? So it has to be a little bit of a balance in terms of playing looser, but also eventually I do feel like Mark Vientos is right. This lineup is too strong. It's too good to continue failing in this particular aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can only expect that they'll improve in that area moving forward. One guy who's improved a bunch is Brett Baty. He has a 900 OPS, 5 home runs since May 7th, while Mark Vientos ended a 17-day homerless streak yesterday, but has struggled overall. Keith, I'll start with you. How do you see the Baty-Vientos dynamic playing out for the rest of the season? We've seen Mendoza use Vientos at DH, with Baty looking like the stronger defensive third baseman.
Yeah, first of all, I love the way that David Stearns, I think, and Carlos have done this nicely in the last 2 years. Is find the little position battles that keep guys kind of on their toes a little bit. I think Mark Vientos got a little too comfortable. You want everybody to get comfortable, but not too comfortable. And so by Brett playing well, playing more third base, all of a sudden Vientos says, "Well, now I have to pick it up." And it's these little things that are positive within a clubhouse, positive kind of competition. Brett Baty right now is worlds better defensively than Mark Vientos. That doesn't mean Mark is a bad third baseman. He's just been playing poorly. So I think, like the stock market, we'll see Brett go up, and then Mark will probably follow him, and then Brett may dip, and Mark may dip. That it's going to be kind of that side by side playing the hot hand. They're both very skilled in different aspects of the game, so they both have a lot of value to the Mets. It's just right now, Baty can't do anything wrong, and Vientos seems like can't do anything right.
Yeah, opposite sides of the spectrum. Laura, how do you see the Baty Vientos dynamic playing out?
It's kind of a difficult situation because when you look at Mark Vientos' defensive metrics, he, in terms of just third baseman who've played that position for over 200 innings or more, he is the worst defensive third baseman in baseball right now. And speaking to Mendoza about it, part of it, again, that goes back to the psychology of the game, that Vientos maybe has a little bit of the yips at that position. And it can't be easy kind of dealing with that when you kind of have Brett Baty breathing down your neck. Yes, these guys are friends, but there always has been that friendly competition. So how do you get over the yips? Well, you got to play. That's the only way confidence begets more confidence, but you also can't have a defensive liability at third base. So now you have this situation where Mendoza, sure, he wants to get him reps at third base, but Baty is just by far the better defensive third baseman. So it's a little bit of an alchemy. You can mix and match. You put him in certain situations that you start Vientos at third base and then have Brett Baty move over later in the games when things are tighter. But both of them, they do feed off of each other. I do feel, a series against the Dodgers coming up, you want that extra glove at third base and Brett Baty. I'm also a little bit concerned about the defense in general with the infield, which, it's an anomaly. Francisco Lindor having 7 errors. We saw a Jeff McNeil error yesterday, Brett Baty error yesterday. So defensively, all told, the unit really isn't having a great stretch right now. And I don't know if you want to make it weaker by putting Vientos there.